So a few years ago, there was a popular movie called American Beauty that featured a video clip of a plastic bag floating in an alley. They thought that the bag was something symbolic, or somehow it was beautiful. Well, we've all seen plastic bags floating around, blowing around the fields and everything, and maybe even across the parking lot or in an alleyway. And I don't think anybody thought it was beautiful. Most of us thought nothing at all, or maybe they thought that maybe somebody else should just pick them up. But nobody really stops to think about how much plastic there really is floating out there. So I decided to do some reading about plastic bags on the Ocean Conservatory website and the U.S. Energy Information Administration. In 2010, 191 million barrels of liquefied petroleum gas, natural gas liquids, and natural gas itself were used to make plastics. It's enough liquid to cover Manitowoc County in about a quarter inch of liquid. 10% of that was used to make plastic grocery bags. Next time you go to the store, pick up a few items. Maybe you should think about using a reusable bag or paper bag, or none at all. Few of us realize that a large portion of plastic bags make their way to the oceans, harming wildlife. Plastic bags clutter our landfills. We don't realize that these plastic bags can ultimately cause harm to humans. The amount of plastic that makes its way into the oceans is staggering. Each year, 4.8 million tons of plastics ends up in the ocean. If you were to imagine that, it'd be enough plastic to make 13.5 Empire State Buildings. Now that we consider 10% of that are plastic grocery bags, it's almost 1.5 Empire State Buildings. You know, two-handled, flimsy bags just to carry your stuff. Now, this number seems a lot, but what does this really mean? Many people have heard about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and what does that mean? It's out there. Who cares? Well, the wildlife cares. 44% of seabird species and 22% of dolphin species have been found to have plastic inside them. That may seem like a concern, but when it comes down to it, plastic results in the death of 1 million seabirds and 500,000 marine mammals every year. Also, that you can carry your stuff from one spot to another. Now, plastic bags don't go away quickly. If you were to take a paper bag to lay it down next to a plastic bag out in your garden, you'd start to see the point. The paper bag turns to mush pretty shortly when the plastic bag sits there. After a few weeks, the paper bag doesn't even resemble a plastic bag or a paper bag. Well, a plastic bag you could probably pick up and use again. You know, that's if you didn't, rip a hole in it when you took your box of Legos from the Walmart. After a few years, maybe the plastic starts getting brittle. The sun starts to break down the plastic, and you start to think that maybe the invite's going back to the environment now. It's not. The truth is, it takes between 500 and 1,000 years for a plastic bag to break down. In the meantime, they're broken up into tiny little particles that go into everywhere, everything, and a lot of these particles make it back to the ocean. Now, the plastics hang around for a long time. They actually start to concentrate chemicals. They make their way to the ocean. Marine life eats them, and some of these animals die, but some of them live on, and the chemicals get concentrated in their bodies. I mean, all these little fish eat these little particles, and the bigger fish eat the little fish, and the bigger fish eat the littler fish. And then you eat the really big fish because that restaurant down the street has a really good tuna steak. Where are all these chemicals? They're in you. Now, we just spoke about how the plastic can be a conveyor for all the bad stuff. But what about plastics? Are plastics bad for you? Truth is that most plastics have a chemical in them to make them more flexible. There are many different kinds of plastics out there, many different kinds of chemicals that they use to make them do whatever they want. We'll just talk about one of them. It's called BPA. A lot of us have seen bottles that say BPA free, and it makes us feel better, but You aren't sure what BPA is or why it's free or what it does. Why is it free from it? BPA is bisphenol A. It was originally developed in the pharmaceutical industry as an estrogen replacement. It doesn't do that very well, but what it is good is it's good at making plastic soft. So anyway, the BPA in the plastic leaches into our bodies, and that means that it takes the place of our natural hormones. And a lot of our children are getting exposed to estrogen at a time when their bodies shouldn't be doing it. And also, BPA has been shown to lead to obesity. Now, you start talking about BPA and you start getting scared, but then there's a terrifying part about BPA. It's got a half-life of about 24 hours in the human body, and in a 2010 test, 95% of those tested positive for BPA. That means every person, 95% of every person tested was ingesting some kind of BPA at least 3 times a week, or pretty much all the time. So plastic bags contribute to the death of more than 1 million animals worldwide. They litter our oceans, our landscape, clog our landfills for close to 1,000 years. The rise in obesity and other childhood disorders can be linked to our exposures to plastics constantly. The only way to reduce any of these factors is to reduce the use of plastic bags. So on your next trip to the grocery store, will be paper and plastic.